When I was a kid, Halloween was always a fun, safe experience. I grew up in a neighborhood where you didn't need to worry about anything bad happening to you or be concerned for your safety. However, that is not the case for every trick-or-treater, whether you expect it or not. When I was in 8th grade, on the day of Halloween, my history teacher told us a story about something that happened to him as a child. He said one year when he came back from trick-or-treating, his mother made him dump out his entire bag of candy. When he did, she proceeded to check every piece of candy he had. After she was about halfway through the bag, she came across a Snickers bar that he said had a 1-inch nail stuck through the center of it. Are the stories about razor blades and candy apples and poison-injected chocolate bars true? Although rare, news reports regarding such incidents have been popping up in the news since the 1950s. In 1959, a California dentist did pass out candy-coated laxatives, which resulted in many children with stomach aches. And in 1964, a New York housewife handed out steel wool pads and dog biscuits to trick-or-treaters because she was irritated with the idea of giving candy to children she felt were too old. And even though she did tell them her goodies were not edible, she was arrested and convicted. The practice then seemed to reach its peak in 1982, when 7 children died after being given cyanide-laced Tylenol pills. Even so, many claim that the myth got the majority of its popularity after Ronald Clark O'Brien intentionally murdered his son, Timothy, because of a big insurance policy he had taken out on his son. O'Brien did this by giving him a cyanide-laced pixie stick on Halloween in 1974. In order to make his act appear more like the work of a random madman, O'Brien also gave poison pixie sticks to his daughter and 3 other children who luckily did not ingest the poison. However, in the coming years, it is believed that the whole practice fizzled out by the late 1990s. Despite that belief, although rare, there have been reports of such incidents in the past decade. A few include, for example, when in 2000, James Joseph Smith of Minneapolis was charged with inserting needles into the candy he gave out to kids. Then again, in 2010, there were 2 call-ins from the same neighborhood to a local Chicago police station the night of Halloween claiming that 2 separate children had been given candy with foreign objects inserted into it. In 2007 alone, there were 3 reported incidents, one in which a child from Florida found a small razor in his partially open 3 Musketeers bar, another where a boy in Colorado also found a needle in his Milky Way bar, and additionally, it was also reported that a Walgreens store in Arizona stopped selling candy after they found an open box of needles on the floor near the candy aisle. Common methods that have been discovered in the past involving tampering with Halloween candy include inserting needles, nails, and razor blades into candy bars. While some claim they are myths, there have also been cases of razor blades in lollipops, lacing treats with drugs, placing pills inside candy bars, replacing round tablet-sized candies with actual drug pills, and also injecting with poison, especially into soft gelatin candies such as Sour Patch Kids and Dots. There has even been a claim to finding some type of animal pellets in a bag of M&Ms. On the other hand, however, sociologist Joel Best argues that a research study he conducted shows that in over 100 cases he examined and backed up with phone calls to police stations and hospitals, absolutely none were officially proven to be death by tampering, but were mostly from either natural causes or pranks. One of these including the O'Brien case, in which was an instance of a parent knowingly poisoning his own child. An example of one he gave was when a 7-year-old girl collapsed dead while trick-or-treating in 1990, but was later pronounced to have passed from heart failure. Similarly, in 1994, a 3-year-old boy from New Britain, Connecticut, was diagnosed with cocaine poisoning in early November. The child, who had a habit of putting his hands and other objects in his mouth, had also been sick earlier that day, but the finger was immediately pointed at tampering. A week later, it was announced that the leftover piece of candy that was supposed to have poisoned him had no traces of the drug in it. Regardless, there are still many who err towards the side of caution on the matter. So what does that mean for Halloween? Should we get rid of the whole practice of trick-or-treating altogether? Some extremists think that that would be the best answer. Some parents have become so worried they've left the neighborhoods altogether and now take their children to malls. Additionally, there are some police stations and hospitals that have gone as far to X-ray bags of candy. However, it appears as if our fear is greatly outproportioned by the likelihood of such an incident occurring. Therefore, it is suggested that parents who feel the need to check should look for holes or tears in packaging to ensure a fun and safe Halloween.